Hello, everyone. Welcome to Patriots 3 Life, Liberty, Pursuit of Happiness. And here's your hosts, Tim Holliday, Spitfire, and Billy. So I want to do a quick introduction of myself. I feel a little rude because I didn't do that last time around. So my name's Tim Holliday. I'm wheelchair bound. I was one of the proponents for the world's second largest recall effort to be done with a government official in the state of California. I was also a co-chair for two different zones. I was a state admin assistant as well. And wow, what a tough task that was, but we did get it on the ballot. Unfortunately, it wasn't successful. And so I'm joined along with my friends here, Spitfire and Billy. Say hi.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone.
So we have a really good show tonight, and we're going to bring on a couple of J6 survivors. We have one of them with us right now. The other one looks like they're running behind. But before we get to that, we're going to bring up a couple of things of what's going on, in the nation as well as in something in the state of California. So let's go ahead and bring on this first video that we have here in regards to what's going on with the boys and girls locker rooms.
Here, the governor of Maine?
Not here.
Are you comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one.
President Trump looking to end his dispute with Maine Governor Janet Mills once and for all and demanding a, quote, full-throated apology from the Democrat mayor who has been silent on protecting women's sports before fully restoring federal funding. Joining us now is Maine State Representative Laurel Libby. Representative Libby, thank you for joining us this morning. From the outside, it kind of looks like Janet Mills completely folded in the face of President Trump's threats, but I think you have a slightly different and perhaps a better informed view of it.
Governor Mills is trying to pull a fast one here. She has no intention of removing biological males from girls' sports in Maine. We heard this last week that the University of Maine system has said that they will comply with Title IX. But guess what? They've never had biological males participating in girls' sports. It's actually at the high school level, not the college level, where we've seen biological males participating in girls' sports in Maine. And Governor Mills, the Democrat majority in the Maine Principals Association, have no intention whatsoever of changing their policy, let alone apologizing to President Trump.
Okay, so that's absolutely mind-blowing. So the problem is actually even worse than what we think because it's, at the college level it's bad, but the idea that it's at the high school level is even worse. Is there anything that that a president can do about that at the high school level?
Well, the question remains the same. It's the federal funding issue. When you look at the K through 12 level, there are hundreds of $millions at stake here. And that's the level where we need to see the Trump administration taking action and absolutely following through on their promise, unfortunately, to take federal funding and ensure that Maine does not receive that. It's the only way that Maine girls will see a fair, safe, and level playing field. And unfortunately, at the same time, that will harm Maine students. But I think that's the only recourse we have in our state.
Yeah, so this is one of those issues that I think in 10 years from now, we're going to look back and try to have to explain to our kids that this was ever an issue because it makes no sense. But and so I think that normal Democrats don't support any of this stuff. Do you get the sense that some of your Democrat colleagues in Maine realize what a loser this is and hopefully, more importantly, how dangerous this is and how bad this is for children, and that maybe they should get sort of in league with you guys to actually try to fix some of this at the high school level?
Everyday Mainers, absolutely across party lines, understand that it's common sense. Biological males don't have a place in girls' sports. Unfortunately, at the legislative level, we don't necessarily see that same response. The Democrats over the years have primaried out their more reasonable counterparts. Wow. And so we have really extremists at the state house level. And that's why I see recourse necessary from the federal level versus the state level and anything legislatively.
Well, thank you so much for putting up the good fight, and keep us informed on how things are going up there in Maine. This is not how our political leaders are supposed to be behaving. Thank you so much.
So, what are your thoughts, Spitfire and Billy?
I think personally that this governor, it's her arrogance. And she wants to maintain control. She doesn't want to lose, and she doesn't care what the fallout is going to be. But in the end, she is going to lose. You know, I'm a woman. I got daughters too, and I've got sons. Yeah. But it's just hard to explain. This woman is probably going to even lose her governorship. They might even remove her. I do know that these schools really thrive off the funding of the federal government. If your kid misses a day or two of school, I mean, they throw a fit because they get paid for every time a child shows up for school. Yeah. Without the funding, I mean, that's going to be, like they said, millions of dollars. That's going to go to these schools. I just think she's a fool. And she just doesn't want to back down. She just, she's going to fight. It's like, is this the hill she wants to die on? Well, you know what? It's going to happen because she is not going to survive this one. She might, like I said, even be recalled. Because the majority of people are against this. And I think they're just getting fed up with these politicians pushing it. Yeah. And that's about it. I don't know, Billy, what do you think?
My thing is, we all got children, family members, etc. Yeah. And what I don't like seeing is when the mainstream media, people on the Hill, people in political offices, it is our duty as God-abiding Americans to protect our children at all cost. All cost. And if we have the ability to step in and do something as Americans to further the education of our children, absolutely. But protecting our child's innocence should be a number one priority in everyone's eyes. And when they start, using, Trump this to do that, or, the Democratic Party wants to bring hate into it and use it as a platform to steamroll people, using the children as a platform to do that should be unacceptable. Case in point, boys go in boys' bathroom, girls go in girls' bathroom. I have a daughter myself, and I'd hate to say how I would handle the situation if it presented itself to me. Yep. And I think I speak for most people that have daughters. You're going to do what you got to do to protect your daughter's innocence.
Yep. Yeah, I have 14 nieces and nephews, and if I hear something being done wrong, you definitely believe I'll be right there. Because I don't want anything happening to those kids. So I've lived in Maine. The time when I lived there in the early 2000s, it was 74% forest, so it's not a very hugely populated state. So there's definitely some interesting things going on there, and a beautiful state, but unfortunately this thing has been going on for many years. I remember it was about 15 years ago helping a friend of mine in the South Bay write a letter because there's a boy competing in the girls soccer team, and that wasn't just or right when it came to that.
If I may interrupt, I'm getting some messages that you're having some technical difficulties.
Oh,
people are waiting to come in, and it's not allowing them to come in.
Come in?
Yeah, for the show.
It should be. Oh my gosh, I totally didn't get that part done. Oh wow. Okay. there's one little button I forgot to click. Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Patriots 3: Life, Liberty, and Pursuit of Happiness. I'm your host, Tim Holiday, and I'm here with Spitfire. We've already gone live on Facebook, so I'm just going to give a quick little introduction and just a brief over what we were just talking about. So my name's Tim Holiday. I was one of the proponents, as well as a state admin assistant for the world's second largest effort to get rid of a government official legally. And I was also a co-chair for 2 different zones in the state of California. And I'm joined along here with my friends Spitfire and Billy. And we were just talking about Janet Mills, the governor of Maine, and Trump's response to her not wanting to be done with the boys in the girls' locker rooms and sports, for that matter. And we were just discussing on how all 3 of us believe that it's wrong. We should be there to protect our children. We're definitely going to be there to protect our girls, whether it be daughters or nieces, or just in general, what can we do to do better? And so coming up to speed here, there's something that I found yesterday from my friends, otherwise known as the Freedom Angels there in California. There's some assembly bills coming up. So what you Californians can do is get out there and write to these assembly members, call them, say that you want these bills to go through. Bill Asaley, who's been put on the chopping block many a times from the opposing side, he's been silenced for just saying it how it is. He's put forth one of these bills, and there's another gentleman I can't quite see that well. Billy or Spitfire, can you see?
Negative.
Spitfire. Hello, Spitfire. Are you there?
Yeah, I can't see.
Okay, let me try to bring up the picture on my end here and bring it bigger so I can see. So we have a Assembly Bill 844. That's AB 844, and it returns all sports, bathrooms, and locker rooms to based on sex, not on gender identity. And that was introduced by Bill Asaley. And then we have AB 89 by Sanchez. Require participants in high school sports be based on sex, not gender identity. So call your assembly member, find your representative legislation. And yeah, so I said legislator.ca.gov and get involved, do your civic duty, and again, protect the children. Protect the girls, goodness. That's basically what we're just talking about on the segment that everybody missed on Rumble, unfortunately. So, Spitfire, Billy. What are your thoughts on that for people getting involved?
It all starts at your local level. If you join the PTA for your school, if you get involved in the school district, if your kids go to public school. Me, I choose to homeschool for reasons, obviously.
Yes.
But starting down at your local level, working your way up, reaching out to your senators, congressmen, getting educated on bills that try getting snuck through at 11:59 on a Friday night, so nobody has hands to get it out there. Get involved. That's all I ask. And the more you do on the local level, people on the Hill are going to notice looking down at the little people when we start voicing our opinions.
I agree. Spitfire?
I agree with what Billy said.
So I definitely agree with the homeschooling. I remember when it was being done in the 90s, I thought that was weird. Oh, your kids are going to be turning out weird. In fact, my half-sister homeschooled her kids. And yeah, I thought that's the most bizarre thing. Who else is doing it? Where's the social interaction with other kids? But as time has gone on, especially within these last 5 years, the importance of homeschooling has become just skyrocketed. So that's what my thoughts are on the whole thing. So yeah. So going along with the topic of kids, just imagine if you own, some playing toys, in particular a box of Legos, and you happen to get in trouble because of having this box of Legos. And this is just really strange because, wow, somebody got in trouble for being, well, I'm going to play this video and let the video explain to you of what this is all about.
The FBI goes into my apartment and, they're passing objects like the Holy Bible or the United States Constitution. And so they actually stumble across a collection of Legos that I had in my apartment. The Legos were there because I think I love Legos and they awaken the engineer in all of us. But also, I also like the idea of bringing Legos into the classroom so that, my students could kind of chill out a little bit, But what they pretended that they found was like the Holy Grail of January 6th, and it was none other than a Lego model kit of the United States Capitol that the Lego company manufactured and sold. So what they did was they take this box of Legos and try to claim that I planned all of January 6th with these Legos. How ridiculous is that? So they take it to court. The judge obviously notices how ridiculous this is and then asks the obvious question, how is any of this possible if the Legos are still in the box? So they literally tried to pin the whole thing on me. They called me the architect of the insurrection, and the Lego man was born. The internet never forgot. And I'm not really dropping the name because it was a shred of dark comedy that came out of this, kind of something to make you laugh. But it also goes to show how far the Biden DOJ was willing to go in order to sell a lie to the American public that our group was actually trying to overthrow the government on January 6th. It's totally bogus, but they were willing to make up such egregious lies that, someone like me was going to overthrow the United States government with a plastic children's toy. That's how outrageous this got.
How do you feel after being released?
I feel good. I feel like I can fly, but, it's a bittersweet feeling. We still got people in that building. They got to come out, man. And so I can't sleep at night knowing that I'm free and other people are still suffering. The age of political prisoners should have ended last night. And because of this facility and many other facilities like it in America, it's still ongoing. So I call on everybody that's listening to call your congressman, call your local representatives, and make sure that the political prisoners finally get released, because enough's enough.
So imagine that, getting in trouble for an unopened box of Legos. Wow. So due to the sensitivity of this content, I'm going to ask people, I'm going to drop the link to go ahead and watch on Rumble because it might get booted off of Facebook, unfortunately. So I'm going to drop in the, so it's Tim Holiday TV, and that's HOLLIDAY TV. And yeah, I totally agree with you, Patriot Knight. I'm not going to display your post because I don't need another reason to get in trouble. But I want to go ahead and introduce our guest here. Is he there? LW, how you doing, brother?
How's it going, y'all?
So LW is a J6 survivor, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his experiences there at the Capitol, and bring us fast forward into where we are now.
All right.
LW?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, here, let me try to get that light out.
Okay.
Sorry.
Whoops, that's all right.
Try to get that. Yeah, so I guess a little background. My name is Dan Wilson. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm an electrician by trade. Grew up, school of hard knocks. A little rough around the edges. Some say, I still am, but it's all a matter of perspective. But I guess a little kind of get started. A little bit of a timeline. I got pulled out of my house by gunpoint on January 3rd of 22. That was for a search warrant over J6. Keep in mind, at this point, my search warrant is over 4 nonviolent misdemeanors. I'm not accused of anything other than the parading and picketing and trespassing at this point.
So misdemeanors.
They did that to a lot of people. Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, they ended up throwing felonies. I mean, that's what they do. I always just like to point that fact out with my particular case, especially when we get deeper into it later in the conversation, just to give a little background on how it started, right? So I do feel like I'm one of the lucky ones. I'll be honest. They didn't kick in the door and flashbang me. They were 30 deep and they were ready for the sandbox. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like I got a little lucky on that part. I got called out of the house. My honest opinion is, and I don't know who it is, and I can't prove it, but my intuition, which is normally right, tells me that there was an officer or two there with just enough clout.
Wow.
To not put on, more of a show. So I'm thankful for that if they ever hear this. But so I did go to jail that day for possession of firearms, unregistered. A lot of people think we have the right to build guns at home and not register them. That is not true. I have the paperwork to prove it. So I'm not charged for J6 at that point. They wait almost a year to the day. It was 1 week shy of a year. On May 25th, let me fall back a little bit real quick. Okay. Keep in mind, so I was arrested that day for the guns. I was arrested originally in the state of Kentucky, not federal, but actual state. 7 months later, the FBI, the feds, they picked up the weapons charges in federal court, and the state of Kentucky dropped my charges.
Okay.
So I get arrested again. I had caught wind. I knew it was coming, which is kind of weird how this went down. In December of 22, I was supposed to have a pretrial hearing in circuit court over the guns. Well, the FBI was denying me and my defense my discovery. Keep in mind, this is 6 months later, 6.5 months. I still haven't got my discovery yet. And when we went into court, the prosecutor had to admit that the feds wouldn't give him my discovery. So not just me, but they wouldn't even give it to the state prosecutor. So, it's impossible to have a hearing in this manner, when you're 6.5 months into it and you still haven't received your discovery. So what also come out of that hearing is that the prosecutor admitted that the feds told him that they were going to indict me next month, which would be January of 23. Well, my first question is how do you know the grand jury is going to indict somebody before you put the evidence in front of them? Just throwing that out there. Anyway, so I got a heads up that the feds were going to indict me. The state prosecutor told the judge they're going to end up dropping the Kentucky charges anyway. So I get arrested again. I do turn myself in this time. They can act like they didn't want to put on a show or whatnot, but we all know that that's not true. So I knew they were going to be coming to put on another show, so I made myself unavailable. I went camping. I think it pissed them off a little bit. My lawyer knew. I told him ahead of time. Just let me know when they call. They tried to act like they weren't going to raid me again, and with the TV cameras, but my cameras and my people told me, different. Anytime the feds come up and I try to talk to you about somebody, first of all, don't talk to them. And secondly, if they tell you not to tell nobody, it's not against the law to tell somebody. So there's that. Yeah. But anyway, so I ended up turning myself in, once they, called the lawyer, so that kind of butt hurt the agent a little bit, but that's okay. I don't need 20 people, 30 people and guns. That's not what I need. But anyway, so I turned myself in, and I say all that to say this. On May 25th of 2023, which, we're a week shy of 1 year from the raid, they send a tactical team to my place of employment and put me down in front of everybody. Keep in mind, I'm already on federal release. I have a lawyer. I have a probation officer. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And they send another tactical team to put me down again. Well, okay, it's getting kind of old, right?
Yeah.
So I get arrested that day for J6. That's when they added the felony for the obstruction of justice, that 1512 charge, which, SCOTUS ended up throwing out. So then I ended up getting on release. It took about a week to get out. Prosecutor was lying on me and everything. Prosecutor told the judge in open court on record that I was making threatening statements to law enforcement. But then when the judge asked for her to prove it with evidence, he'll keep me locked up. Just show him where I said that, and they couldn't do it. And she literally said in open court, "Your Honor, I can't tell you where I'm getting that information."
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah.
You're fighting for your release. The prosecutor is saying things, and the judge asks for receipts and is told, "No, I can't do that. Just lock him up."
Yeah. So where's the
Well,
discovery?
I mean, I got out. Well, I still don't have it at this point.
Wow.
No, yeah, that takes a while. And my first, speaking of discovery, my first dump, because I still honestly I did not get it all. I did not get it all. I know I didn't. Because there's discovery and other people's paperwork that should have been in mine. I'm just saying. But the first dump was 492 pages, and 130 of them were blacked out with redacted written on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So here's your evidence. We just wasted, 130 sheets of paper, I mean, you might as well, why,
So we have all these taxpayer dollars of, two tactical teams going to your place of employment. What'd you say? How many pages of document that was mostly redacted?
Just the first dump. Oh yeah, over 130. Oh well, if you want to go there, brother, let me tell you about the security cameras that they put on utility poles outside of your house. Let me tell you about the tracking devices on sealed warrants that they put on your vehicles. Let me tell you about the teams that follow you around and take pictures while you're at restaurants and while you're at local grassroots political events, at school board meetings.
Worse than the paparazzi. Yep, I get it. I totally get it.
It's amazing. I mean, I've always kind of known the government was kind of corrupt. But from what I've learned through this experience, I mean, it's deeper than you can even imagine. And it's so hard to even try to explain, because like even people that I feel like are informed. Like before this happened to me, I felt like I was pretty well informed, right? I'm paying attention. I know what's going on. I'm active. I was a little naive, I think. I think all of us are to a certain extent. When you find yourself in that position where you have the full weight of the government, you have the psyop of, the media. I mean, the infamy that I've received, I mean, to me is a little overwhelming. And the fact that, I'm just a regular, normal guy. I'm this old street kid. I'm a blue collar, rough around the edges, drink my beer, construction worker.
Yeah.
not everybody might like me, but you like me when you need me. I promise you that. You know, that's what got me into this. It was never left or right to me.
Yeah.
What got me involved was seeing the political violence. You know, and where, you know, when it came to my town, you know, when they say it makes a difference when it comes to your door, right? Well, it came to my door. So I got off the couch. And I feel like a lot of my persecution was for that. It was for my activism. It was for being willing to get in the streets. It was for being willing to go to the school board meeting and stand on a line and tell the police and the school board that these parents will speak today.
Good.
It's about standing in front of a customer or a person or a business. You know, my friends, my family, my co-workers were accosted in the streets and were scared to go to work. So now we have a problem. You know, I don't consider myself a tough guy, but I'm not a victim neither. And so, you know, for me, that's a huge part of my story, and why they came after me so hard. You know, they just don't like anybody that's willing to stand up and speak out. It is a dangerous game. The division, the bureaucracy, the politicization of the state of our nation is it's in dire straits, if you ask me.
Yes,
it really is.
So yeah, I've known a number of people that went to that event on January 6th. And one of my friends in the South Bay of California actually did have their door smashed in and home completely just raided. And it was a terrible time because their son was visiting from out of the area. Names slandered all over the newspaper. Didn't even feel safe in their own town. I'll probably bring them on sometime in the future so they can tell their story. But yeah, I
might know who they are. I'm pretty well in tune with all the J6. Well, you know, you can't really know everybody's details, but I know quite a few of the stories. I was blessed to be released pre-trial, so I utilized that to the benefit of helping others and advocating for others and being a part of the J6 community. Dude, a lot of us are scared. I'm still scared, even without my situation. The PTSD is real. Being out in public, you know, just wondering who's watching, you know, who's who. Just it, you know, the pardons weren't a fix-all,
right?
And don't get me wrong, you know, they got us out, which, you know, I guess give me a heads up when we get to about the 10-minute mark when you want me to shut my mouth, so I can kind of get into my last spiel. Well, you know, like I said before, I can get into it. Now, there's so much to unpackage in this situation. That's why I said, you know, any one of y'all want to jump in and just ask a question so I get to a certain topic or something, feel free to do so, because, you know, this has been going on for me for 4 years, and my brain is so far out there and I can talk about so much. Go ahead. What's up, Billy?
I got a question. You know,
yeah, I'd like to
come on.
you. How long, how much time did you get? How did you feel when you actually walked out? And the nightmare is still not over because you're still going through a lot. If you can talk about some of that too.
All right, Billy, what did you have? I'll make sure I incorporate it.
It was similar along those lines of what Pam asked. Spitfire.
Okay. Yeah. So I turned down multiple plea deals throughout the process. They really pushed hard for me to give an interview. You know, my affiliations with 3%ers and Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, things of this nature. They wanted to talk to me pretty bad about that, and I wouldn't do it, so that didn't help. My lack of remorse because I continue to speak out and be an advocate and not, play their reindeer games. So because I was facing the District of Kentucky charges also, they ended up giving me at the end a superseding indictment. When the Supreme Court threw out the 1512 charge, they came back with another indictment and added a co-defendant and added more felonies. They were after their pound of flesh. Anyway, to keep it from going too long, my guidelines, I ended up taking a plea where, I didn't have to, give an interview or anything. Keep in mind, they were trying to give me like 15 years to begin with. I fought really hard. The Fisher case helped because I got rid of the 1512. And then if anybody out there that's listening is familiar with the Larry Brock case, he won on appeal for the sentencing guideline enhancements. That's where they were giving everybody the domestic terrorism enhancement. And there was a couple others that give you like an extra 14 points. So you're talking about taking something from 2 years to 6 years, so like 400% increase, right? Types of sentences, depending on what kind of guideline range they're trying to give you. So anyway, I got my guidelines where they were supposed to be down around 2.5, 3 years. Just seeing what had happened, with all the other cases and with my case in particular, just where we sat, I took the plea deal. Well, at least I thought I did. When we got to sentencing, the judge decided to give me 60 months. Anyway, because of my lack of cooperation, my lack of remorse. So I ended up getting 60 months total. I was taken into custody at my final sentencing. Even though I'd been out pre-trial, a couple years and all that, it didn't matter. They wanted me behind bars. So they took me in DC then. I was in DC jail for about a week and a half. I didn't make it over to the pod. They put me on the CDF side and put me up in Southeast 3. It's like a max range. So, you got some pretty rowdy characters up there. Yeah. But so I ended up there for like a week and a half. Then they took me to FDC in Philadelphia, PA. That place wasn't no fun neither. It was mainly pretrial detention for feds, up there. And there's a lot of J6ers that come to find out. There's a lot of us that went through there. A whole lot of us. They used it as a transit spot for the most part. But the walk I was on, it was a pretty rough walk. I ended up, they brought, I was there for the most part by myself. And then they brought Sam Fisher. He's a J6er out of New York. They ended up bringing him in. So that was pretty cool. There was a lot of violence in there. I didn't have anybody on my side, that's for sure. Wow. So I tried to, stay out the way as best I could.
Yeah.
Couple sketchy situations. I do have to admit, I made it out of there unscathed. I do attribute that a lot to, which of course being a little older and wiser, I think helps. But I did quite a few years in state prison when I was young. That was a long time ago, 30 years. Yeah. But I didn't need training wheels, so to speak. But yeah, so I was there for like 7 weeks. Couple sketchy situations, but was kind of able to wiggle my way out of them. So then I ended up going to Oklahoma. Went to old Shady Grady.
Ah.
So I ran into it was just one day before I got or left, but because I wasn't there that long, week and a half, I think it was, something like that. I wasn't there that long, and ran into the notorious Mr. Enrique Tarrio.
Yeah.
So I ran into him there, and then got back on a plane, and they flew me to West Virginia. I went to Beckley, FCI Beckley. It's a medium high. I was informed I got this designation because you got to remember I got all nonviolent charges, and my criminal history, they're really not supposed to hold it against you. Anything over 15 years old, the feds ain't supposed to hold it against you, but they do anyway. So because of my domestic terrorism label and because of them putting a gang tag on me and them using my old criminal history against me, they sent me to a high level of security. That place was pretty rough, man. It's pretty rough. It's notorious. Google it. Anybody want to Google it? And they're like under investigation for extortion. There's been murders. I mean, it's corrupt. It's just corrupt, dude. You better have a tall set of boots when you walk through them gates up there.
So I have a question, and I want to start out with asking Billy and Spitfire a question, and then it'll go for you as well, W. So before this whole J6 incident, and the following with the hearings of that, Spitfire and Billy, have you ever heard of a magistrate serving as a someone acting like a judge here in the United States before that?
Negative.
So,
No.
LW, did you have to face a magistrate?
Yes. My initial appearance and my detention hearing was in front of a magistrate. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've never heard of a magistrate in the United States, only in like the European Union countries. And so this just blows my mind on, where's our U.S. constitutional judges in this matter? That's my point.
J6 was I'll expound upon that thought a little bit. Let me throw this at you.
Okay.
J6 was the largest investigation in history. There was more manpower and more money thrown at it than anything. Now think about that. You're talking about Paul Blart and everybody. You're talking about, over a protest, right?
Yeah.
Judges from around the country were used. Attorneys on both sides were brought in from all over the country because the courts were so overwhelmed. And I said this, some people called me crazy back in 21, early 22 when I said this. I said this even before I was hit. The courts were so overwhelmed. They would have charged a lot more people. The courts were overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They did it to themselves, coming after, people that they didn't need to be coming after.
Right.
But yeah, if you think about the resources that were, put towards this, it's amazing. It's mind-blowing, really. It's mind-blowing. Just looking at my case and the surveillance and everything, just in my case alone. Look, the Proud Boys trial, it was like the longest trial in United States history. Was it like 3 months or something crazy?
Wow.
So we've taken, that's an incredible statement if you think about all the different, if you actually look back and all the different RICO cases and things of that nature, when it comes to, the amount of money and resources that you put into something.
Yep. Yeah, that's all taxpayer dollar for that matter.
Pretty nuts.
It is. So, another question for ELW. Seeing it on the outside here with some of the news, there's some politicians that were fighting to try to get the J6ers out, and one of them was including Marjorie Taylor Greene. Did you hear anything on the inside about that?
I was actually out when she was went up to the jail and stuff. I went in last August and got out on inauguration night. So I ended up doing right at about 5 months.
Okay. Wow.
So I got 5 years, but I ended up only doing 5 months and got out.
Wow. Yeah, what's your thoughts on those politicians fighting for the rights of the J6ers?
I mean, somebody needed to, I mean, I was out here, like I said, for the first 2.5, years, behind the scenes, and fighting. So watching all the cases, being privy to be able to talk to people and family members and activists and stuff, that were in the courtrooms and just different things. I mean, I was well connected. I am well connected within the J6 community. I can find out what's going on. And because my life was on the line, I was paying attention to everything going on. And we really needed more people. I try to look at the glass half full versus half empty. I try to remind myself of that. Because I was actually talking about this a little bit, like for last. I don't want to concentrate my time on the people that I lost, the people that weren't there.
Yeah.
I want to concentrate on the people that were. So whether they're a politician or if they were an advocate behind the scenes or a supporter behind the scenes, if they wrote a letter, if they shared a post, they did whatever they could do. The activism and getting the word out is what got the pardons to happen, in my opinion. And there's no other way to it. The activism worked, in my opinion.
And you're absolutely right. It's the activism and the persistence of, therefore. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Well, it's time that these representatives start listening to their constituents. I mean. Yeah. Nobody wants violence, but it's like when you get on top of the hill and you keep screaming and nobody's hearing you, right. People get fed up. I think there was, not everybody agrees with my opinion. That's why we all got opinions, and most of us that on our side are pretty opinionated. We're free thinkers, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. Right. January 6th, it was a mixed bag. You can't just put one label on it if you want to objectively look at it, in my opinion. There was wrongs on both sides. It was a setup. There was feds. I find it funny that everybody wants to talk about how BLM and Antifa infiltrated, and everybody wants to talk about the CHSs, and everybody wants to talk about the feds. But as soon as you try to point one out, oh no, hold on, they're one of the 1594. Now hold up. I'm just gonna be honest, man, we ain't all the same.
Right.
That's where people's got to do their own research. I'm not gonna talk bad about nobody. See, I stay away from the grifters, I stay away from the people antagonizing. I don't want to be in the drama. I'm not picking nobody's side. I've got a beautiful J6 community, and that's what I go with. But, it's those kind of things, the constituents, the people, how much are the people going to keep taking?
Right.
Right. How many times are we going to elect these people and they just don't listen? How big does our bureaucracy have to get where people get tired? I think a lot of it's 80-20 issues too, and it's just we don't like the guy on the other side. See, this is the part of the conversation where I fall back because I'm not left or right.
Yeah.
See, that's not what got me involved. My journey is morphed, and the only reason I'm still in this journey is because I found myself at January 6th. I was at January 6th just like I was at every other event that I was at, and I traveled this country. My hometown. Countless hours and nights defending people, places, things, council meetings, school board meetings, COVID protests, flag waves, travel the country. I was in D.C. for the November and December events too. I was at J6 to protect people's First Amendment rights. That's what I do.
Doing your civic duty.
I have my own. I have my own opinions. I have my own political beliefs, so to speak. I have my own morals, my own values. But it wasn't really about that to me. If the political violence would have been on the so-called right against the so-called left, then I'd have been on the other side.
Yeah. So
I'm on the side of protecting your First Amendment.
So we have a couple of questions here in the chat. Let me see if I can bring it up. Ask them about home arrest before the prison time.
Well, that sucked. I had GPS on. I was lucky enough to go to work. So I did get to do that. But yeah, I lived with an ankle monitor on. They just show up whenever they want. I couldn't really go do anything. That's pretty much what it is. And none of that time counts. And that's where it falls back. The process is the punishment.
Yeah, you're pretty much a prisoner at home and work. That's the only two places you get to go. But yeah, it's still not counted. This is another.
Yeah, it's a mental prison too. Because I was still catching them following me and stuff. I had GPS on, but I would catch them. I got pretty good. I called it "Where's Waldo." I don't know. I'm telling on my age here a little bit, but I'm pretty good at this game. I've got they've made me good at it. But yeah, it's they. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Continue.
No, I was just gonna say, it's kind of messed up, how they would be, following me and tracking me, at the same time. It's like, I'll tell a quick little story here. I'm on my way home from work one day, and I caught them following me, because I drive like a granny. I'm not like everybody else on the highway doing 90 and weaving in and out and everything. I drive like a granny. I ain't no hurry.
My granny had a lead foot.
So I catch them. I catch them on me. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm on a 3-lane highway, interstate. I'm in a slow lane on the right. Well, just because I drive slow don't mean I have to. I got a F-150 with the twin turbo. Yeah. It will flat get it. You know what I'm saying? So I go from the right lane all the way. I almost half crazy, man. I didn't hit get close to hitting nobody, but I changed 3 lanes. I speed up. I go from 55 to a bill.
Wow.
And I jump these lanes, and then I jump back over, and then I slow up and get next to this semi-trailer while he flies by. I was like, y'all are stupid.
So we have another question in the chat here. And let's see. Ask him about getting out of prison and how it felt.
Okay. Yeah, that day, Inauguration Day, that was amazing. Of course, watching the TV, listening to the radio all day. I heard the J6ers mentioned a couple times, but nothing, major. And if you remember, the inauguration event at the Capitol didn't end till like 2:00, or whatever. But anyway, so I'm sitting there, I'm paying attention. Everybody's like, "You're going home, you're going home, you're going home." I'm trying to stay sane, and so then 7:30 rolls around. Ain't seen nothing. Been watching everything. So I ain't gonna lie. I jump on the computer, the core links, and I hit about 7 or 8 people real quick. I just sent a text out. I said, so much for day one. That's all I said was so much for day one. Wow. So I come out of the computer room. I went upstairs to my cell, and I put my headphones in, and the Mark Levin show is on.
Yeah.
And as soon as I put my headphones in, he's playing the recording of President Trump talking and signing the executive order. So I run back downstairs, and at Beckley, we get locked down at 8:30 at night. So, the phones, we have a designated phone that we're supposed to use. Well, certain people use it at certain times. Anyway, I'm like, I need to get on the phone. I knew my buddy Drone was in town to pick me up. So I called him, and I'm like, hey, man, I just heard on the radio. He's like, I did too. He's like, I'm here. He's like, I was here. He's like, I'm down the street. He was in the parking lot waiting on us, me and Pruitt, and the cops come out there with a pepper ball gun and run him off. He's like, what are you doing? He said, we're here for Will. He said, I'm here to pick up Wilson and Pruitt. He said, ain't nobody leaving here tonight. And he says, Uncle Trump said they are. But anyway, so
really quick.
So I call him, and I'm like, hey, dude. Yeah, so I'm like, hey, dude. And he's like, yeah, I know. He's like, I'm here. He's like, just call me. I'm like, all right. Because they're getting ready to lock us down. So anyway, we get locked down at 8:30, and there ain't no sleep, so I'm laying there, and I got my headphones in, and I'm not trying to think about it, and I hear my cell door pop, and it's the same time of night. This is when they always come do drug tests. See, there was another part. I wasn't targeted, but I got shook down and drug tested. I wasn't doing nothing, but I got shook down and stuff all the time. But anyway, so I just kind of rolled my head over, and I look up, and this cop standing there, and he's like, Wilson, you ready to go home? I was like, shit, yep, I sure am. So I jumped up. It was like minus 15 degrees outside, snow and a foot of ice. It was crazy. So I threw some clothes on. I only brought home my letters and my Bible and stuff, but I grabbed what I wanted to take. I ain't gonna lie, it was already sitting on the desk. What I wanted to walk out the door with was sitting in one spot together. Sally got the rest of it, so I come out the cell, and some lights pop on. They're like, live wire. And I'm like, yeah, Trump, baby, so there's a few people hooting and hollering for me, Yeah. So we come walking out of the dorm, and I'm coming up the sidewalk. I'm getting escorted, and then I look over, and I know me and Pruitt didn't get to see each other much. The way they separated the place, we were at the same place, but really didn't get to see each other. So I see Pruitt and another guard come out. I looked at this guard I'm with. I'm like, that's Pruitt, ain't it? And he's like, yep. I was like, sweet. Like, we out of here. So we got up there.
I'm going to interrupt you really quick, Harold W., because now joining us is the co-author of Trumped Up, My Journey Through America, January 6th, Prison, Pardon, and Redemption. Here is Josh Pruitt.
What's up, guys?
Up top here.
Sorry, I literally, for some reason, thought we were on Central Time. Then I looked at my damn phone and saw I was getting texted by you guys.
I understand. I'm in Central too, and I have to do everything according to East Coast time to keep things straight for myself.
So I'm sitting here listening to Dan, and when we got out, it was interesting. And not for nothing, you and me did the same thing, Dan. When we both got taken out of the cell, I thought the same thing. I thought that they were doing a piss test, and they actually missed my cell. They walked by my cell, went to another cell, so I thought that's what they were doing. And then I heard them literally say, wrong cell. And then they came back and opened mine, and they were like, hey, Pruitt, grab your shit.
Wow.
So, and I did the same thing when I walked out. I was just like, Trump won, and woke everybody up. And, everybody kind of cheered for me too. So, same thing. And, when I get outside, I saw you across the yard. And I mean, I couldn't really tell it was you, but the only thing that made sense is it was you. And you heard me. I yelled. I was like, hey, Livewire, is that you? Because the only thing that made sense. So, I mean, now the craziest part is so when me and Livewire got down there, they actually, again, we just got pardoned. Yeah. So they take us down there and put us in a waiting area, and then they throw us in a damn cell for over an hour. It's we just got pardoned. We weren't even supposed to be here to begin with. And you guys are locking us in a cell. But obviously, I mean, you're not going to really talk trash to them because, I mean, they could have held us up for hours if they wanted to, so.
Right. So I have a question for both of you that was asked in the chat about a few minutes ago is ask them about the big plate of bacon after getting out. Ask both him and Josh.
Well, I mean, that's all you can think. I mean, you hadn't had. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I had bacon, but most people hadn't had bacon in years. I worked in the kitchen, and I made friends with one of the COs in there that used to be military, and he snuck me some bacon one time. But other than that, that was the only one time I had bacon the whole time I was in. So,
But
yeah, I mean, we ordered like
got
a
out,
plate full.
Yeah, nice.
Oh yeah, it was funny. We come walking in, and I think she thought I was joking. I said, "I want a plate for 3." I don't know what they want. I want a plate for 3.
I'd totally be down for that. Yes.
Yeah, I basically was like, yeah, give me 4 orders of bacon. I mean,
so LW, you have a Gibson Go out there. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So what's going on, y'all? I'm one of the ones that is facing going back in. I had raid related charges. My judge is being difficult in the situation. The DOJ has agreed that the pardon covers those raid related charges, but the judge denied the motion to vacate and dismiss. So my legal battle continues. I haven't asked for anything throughout this whole process. I mean, I helped a lot of people even when I was out pre-trial. I'm tapped out. I'm done. I have nothing left. And of course, these attorneys don't work for free, and it goes back to the process is the punishment. So if anybody, help out $10-20, whatever, it would really be appreciated. Hopefully, hopefully this works out to my benefit. I mean, everybody keeps telling me that I'm going to win. It's just a rogue judge. But, look at all these rogue judges that we're dealing with. Trump's got the money to fight this. The government's got the money to fight it. I don't. I've lost everything. I'm living in a family member's basement. I don't have a job. I just got out of prison, and they're wanting to lock me back up. So if anybody can help out, I'd really appreciate it. And even if you can't help with money, spread the word on my case. Anybody, whatever platform you can. I know it's dangerous for a lot of y'all over on Facebook. I'm done with them people anyway. But just try to spread the word. Because the activism is what works. The activism is what got us our pardons. And just remember, just because everybody got pardons, it doesn't mean our lives have been restored. Everybody's struggling.
Yeah,
everybody's struggling. Especially these cats that has been locked up these past 4 years, like Pruitt. Anybody, a lot of these guys been gone 3-4 years. They walked out with nothing but the shirt on their backs, and you're talking about I'm not going to group us all together because no group fits all, but for the most part, you're talking about a lot of independent souls, a lot of people more than capable of taking care of themselves and have lived a good life and have taken, haven't asked for any handouts or anything, but they're struggling.
Yeah.
So I implore everybody to find a J6er and help them out.
So a question came into the chat. Were you jailed in DC? What were the conditions inside? How were you treated during the insurrection? Were you in isolation? So we'll go ahead and start out with Josh with that question there, and then we'll jump over to you, LW.
Well, I mean, so the first 10 months, I went through probably 9 different jails. I only started at DC. I was there for days, and that was it. I ended up at Beckley FCI. which is where Dan ended up at the end. So not for nothing, Beckley FCI was one of the most dangerous federal prisons in the country. There's only 2 federal prisons in the country that hold MS-13. We were one of them. So it's a very active prison. People were getting stabbed. I watched people go out in body bags. Rather it was from another inmate making sure that happened, or fentanyl overdose. It's just the kind of stuff that was happening. So really rough place. I mean, not for nothing, like Beckley, as far as the guards were concerned, I kind of got left alone. You know, it was West Virginia. Most of those guys were actually Trump supporters and kind of had our backs. But, you know, so at DC, yeah, they had to worry about maybe the guards a little bit, but I had to worry about 1,600 violent inmates. You know, I was at a place where I worked in the kitchen next to an MS-13 member that was in there for chopping up 2 bodies. So, like, as far as, like, you know, putting us in a place that we belonged at, like, you know, me and Dan should have never been there. We should have been at maybe a lower, if not a, well, I mean, we shouldn't have been in prison at all, but like a lower a camp. And they threw us in this very violent place.
Wow. LW. Were you jailed in DC?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of. I was only there for a week and a half. You know, but yeah, I mean, it was where I was in CDF. I didn't make it over to like the pod or anything. So I mean, where I was at, there was violence where I was at. You know, there was somebody got stabbed on there, and then on the Southeast 3, they got stabbed while I was there, and then yeah, I mean, up Philadelphia, yeah, I seen quite a few people get stomped out, stabbed, you know, extortion, taking people's commissary. Then yeah, Beckley, yeah, it was pretty rough. That guy he just referenced that he worked with in the kitchen, yeah, he was my neighbor. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it was definitely a rough place there at Beckley. And I mean, just like Josh said, though, he covered it all, you know, the inmates and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty rough. You know, a lot of prison politics, gangs, a lot of young people. Something that I didn't realize, but I learned is, I guess a couple years ago, and I think it was Trump that did it, but the BOP passed new regulations where they can't send anybody 25 or younger to the USPs, to the penitentiaries. So now you have all these young kids coming in with these long sentences. They're young and aggressive, and they can't go to the USPs. Well, see, like where we were at, it was ran like one, but it wasn't considered one. It's considered a medium-high disciplinary yard. So we were on a yard with, you know, people that really should be in penitentiaries, but because of the regulations, they weren't allowed to be. And then I had the same experience with the guards too. I mean, to be honest, I was real quick to let them know why I was there. I didn't want special treatment, but I didn't want special treatment. You know what I mean? I wasn't looking to be their buddy or not, because, you know, I'm in prison. We're going to maintain the discipline of the relationship. I'm a convict. You're a guard, right? So we're going to maintain that level of a relationship. But hey, man, you know, wink, wink. Don't worry about me over here, okay? You know. So that was my experience with them too. I really didn't have any problems.
Hey Dan, like I don't know what they told you when. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was saying, I don't know what they told you when you got to Beckley, but when I got there and you got off the bus, first of all, you're in shackles. They're holding the shotgun against you. And we went into the room where they took the shackles off. And what they told us straight up is they said, you're better off to get caught with a knife than not with one. That's what they told us. That's literally what the COs told us when we got off the bus.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, nobody made that exact comment to me, but yeah, I mean, it was pretty well known about that place. I had a couple people at Philadelphia that heard of it, so when I got designated, I asked around about it. A couple people knew about it, and then my people on the outside, they Googled it, and they're like, "Oh hell," you know. But yeah, it's pretty. Man, that place is run down too. It's falling apart. They have no money for facilities. I worked in facilities. I'm an electrician, so of course, I wasn't there 2 weeks. I had a job, and they just didn't have no money to fix nothing.
Yeah.
The kitchen didn't have money for food. They didn't have money for clothing for everybody. But what they did have money for was their little MAP program, so everybody can run up there and get their drugs out the window.
Wow.
That's what they got plenty of money for.
So working in the kitchen, I'll say oh no, they have money. Trust me, they just have money for themselves because the way the ordering went in the kitchen, that food was, they were supposed to be eating the same food as we were, but what they were doing is they were ordering really good crap. What you could get that was good for themselves, and it was going into their chow hall. And they were supposed to be eating the same stuff. So, we got screwed. Because even at, when I was at McDowell before I went there, on a weekly basis, you got certain stuff. And when you went over here, you didn't get that. And that's why. It's because they were stealing it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can look at the BOP menu that they post online or whatever. That's not what, it's not what you get.
But, see, the stuff that was on the BOP menu was coming in. But they were pushing it to the COs. Right. And literally the year before you got there, on New Year's Day, we're supposed to get steaks, and somebody got murdered the night before. So we ended up being locked down for a month and a half, so we didn't get that either. The one thing that we were waiting for.
Wow. So in the comments,
that was the worst part about Beckley, if you ask me.
Huh?
So,
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I don't know about you, Pruitt, but that was the worst thing about Beckley to me was being locked down all the time.
I was locked. You were there for what, 5-6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. So over the time that I was there, the year before was actually worse. So I was at Beckley alone almost 2 years. And half the time we were locked down. It was literally that bad. They would just, they'd lock us down for anything.
Wow. So in the comments, I put in the Give Sim Go for LW to help him out with a legal fund. Josh, let's talk a little bit about your book that you co-authored.
Yeah, so I dropped that honestly about a week and a half ago. I didn't even start writing it until I got out of prison. So I dropped it in 40 days. It goes through my experience with J6 and the Proud Boys, and honestly, there's a lot more about prison and other stuff because I can only talk so much about one day. Yeah. Where I spent over 3 years in prison. So there's a lot of that, but then it goes into my background and everything I grew up with and everything I became. Just to kind of give a backstory on myself too. So 300 pages almost. So, it's very informative. But it gives some inside details of what happened in the Capitol and, a lot of information.
So ask them how they are getting back into life after prison.
Dan, go for it.
I was going to let you go first. Honestly, I haven't been able to because of my situation that I'm dealing with. I thought I had this handled, and then I didn't. So, in all honesty, for me, until I can officially get this situation rectified and I can get, the DOJ, I don't know what to do. The DOJ, says to drop the case, the judge won't. So, I don't know. Does it got to get all the way to Trump? Am I important enough for that to happen? I hope so. But yeah, for me personally, it's bittersweet. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad, that I'm out right now, and that experience of getting out that night, I'll never forget it. But I'm kind of stuck in spin cycle here to where I can't really do anything until I know it's over. That's where I'm at. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, as far as for me, like, I mean, it's getting better, but it was a struggle. I mean, I think the first night that we got out, I mean, obviously, Dan, we stayed up all night because, I mean, we were excited. But the next night I crashed, but then I didn't sleep for like 3 weeks because I just couldn't, like, I mean, at all. Just anxiety and just the alertness that you stay on. I remember 2 days after I got out, like, I went to go buy a cell phone and I hear somebody running behind me and it like freaked me out. I turn around, it's this 10-year-old girl. Obviously, no reason to freak out, but it's just the alertness of everything. You're so alert. Literally finally weeks after being out, like some people listen to like sleep music to go to sleep. So, I bought a little speaker to listen to music before I went to sleep, but I'm over here listening to Five Finger Death Punch to go to sleep instead because like I'm just so used to like just the ruckus of everything, to say the least.
Yeah.
It's only been more recently now that I've been able to just go to sleep. Period. So I mean, yeah, it's taken a lot of getting used to.
Yeah. I'm sorry to
Again,
laugh, but I grew up in a rough household, so I understand.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, and then when you're away for 3 years, I mean, from a financial standpoint, you lose everything, like everything, but you lose more than the financial part, like the stuff that you really can't get back. So, my kids were 8 and 10 when I went to prison, and their mom's a liberal and she's slightly crazy. When all this happened, we weren't together. So, but I have my kids every weekend or every other weekend. And when I went to prison, she just stopped letting them talk to me. So they just think I abandoned them. Like they have no idea what happened. Now they're almost 12 and 14. I've been out for roughly 60 something days now, and they still don't know anything. She won't let me talk to them. She's talked to me, but she's just like, oh, we need to go through a counselor. And, she's giving me the runaround. But the truth is, she doesn't want to let them talk to me because the second that they do, they're going to know that she lied to them. So it's jumping through those hoops, and that's the stuff that I can't get back. Like from a financial standpoint, yeah, I'm pretty screwed up right now. However, that can be replaced. 10 years from now, it doesn't matter what happens. My kids are always going to look back and be like, okay, you weren't there during my childhood. That I can't fix.
Yeah, you can't replace time.
And
That's
I mean,
gotta
that's
be
what they really
heartbreaking.
take away from you when you go to prison. You think it's a financial thing, and then you realize it's really not.
Right.
It's time, because your time stands still and everybody else's goes on. You're in prison. People pass away while you're in there. Things happen that you can't be around. You can't be there for. Everything changes.
Yeah, you can't get time back. It's got to be heartbreaking and very infuriating.
Yeah.
I can totally relate in some ways.
Yeah, I'm still not good with the crowds neither. Are you doing better with the crowds? I'm not.
I mean, yeah, but what I do is like, I mean, I was a bartender for 15 years and I'm used to being around big crowds all the time anyway. But like when I go out now, like say I go to a bar, I mean, I sit somewhere at the bar where I can see everything.
Yeah.
So that I know everything that's coming in the door, where everybody's walking. Like I have to be like aware of everything.
Yeah.
Because there's probably not going to be something that happens. But I mean, not for nothing. I mean, I got out, like a lot of people in the area that I initially was in. Now I'm at the beach in Wilmington, but I was in Chapel Hill at my sister's, and it's super liberal area there. And within weeks of me getting out, I got doxxed already. Like to the point that where I was going to restaurants that I had never walked into. I would get 10 feet in the door and they'd be like, yeah, you're not allowed in here. So I mean, and that's one of the things that like, okay, so we got a pardon. That's great, okay? But like for me, and this is the truth of even before all this happened, if I go and apply at a bartending job, they don't care about my background check, but you know what they are going to do? They're going to Google me.
Yeah.
And that's where the issue comes.
Wow. So Billy Spitfire, you have any questions or comments?
I got a question for LW. Knowing you're a firecracker, and I love you, brother. Knowing everything you know now, hindsight, looking back on all this and everything you both have been through, would you guys do anything different?
Oh, for sure. And what I mean by that is I'll always stand on the intent of my heart and my mind. My my intent was always true. It was never just nefarious in my opinion, which, everything's a matter of perspective too, right? Some people say, you're wrong for beating up Antifa. Some people say you're right, so just a matter of who you talk to. But as far as, my heart, my beliefs, standing up against the COVID, standing up against the school boards, standing up against our government to, say our piece. It's the American way.
Amen.
I mean, I'll take the same question.
Go ahead.
Would I do anything differently? Fuck no. Honestly, my opinion on the whole thing is I don't regret anything that I did. I regret what they did to us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, we shouldn't have been in prison. A lot of people asked me that day why I didn't have a mask on when I went in the building. Well, it's because I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. We watched the Summer of Love or whatever they want to call it. And, we didn't even do a minimum of what they did, like by far. So, yeah, not even a little bit do I regret anything.
Yeah, the Dems say that
Well,
they
when
are
I
the
say
party of
regret,
tolerance and love.
right.
There's a
Well, when
comment
I
that
say
came.
regret, I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm just basically saying, tactics and maybe a couple of small decisions along the way. But as far as showing up and being active, no, of course not. But come on, man. If we don't learn from our mistakes, then we're not living right.
I mean, I definitely believe in being a little bit more tactful than we were, but
Yeah. So, Spitfire, any comments or questions?
Not at this time.
It's a very tough situation you guys have been in, and I wouldn't wish this upon anybody. This is, something that should have never had happened. I saw a lot of footage. In fact, I was actually moderating some pages on Facebook, and our page got shut down because of displaying violence, supposedly according to the rules of that platform. We all know which one I'm talking about, the one with a big old F. But yeah, so this is one of the reasons why I'm on Rumble. So go ahead and follow Tim Holiday TV on Rumble. And throw a little plug in for myself there. Go ahead and get Josh's book. Honestly, it doesn't cost that much. $22 and change.
yeah.
There it is. Spitfire has it there. Help out Dan. He's $5-10. Any little bit will help. Any little bit. And I absolutely agree. I totally understand what legal fees are all about. I've faced some law in the past myself in some different ways, of course. But I've always tried to dodge that. But
And I just can say I would like to add,
yes,
for everybody can help Tim out here and follow him on Rumble. That would really help a lot. And like I say, get yourself a copy. I already got a copy of Josh's book. And for LW, I believe it's the givesendgo.com/help Dan Wilson. So, but yeah, definitely please hit that follow button for Tim. That would really help his channel out.
Yeah, and you can find me on most social media platforms at Tim Holiday TV. So there it is on screen. So, Josh, did you have anything more to add? I know you came in a little late, but I
Yeah,
totally
I'm sorry,
understand.
guys.
Daylight savings time zone differences. So yeah, East Coast, Central, West, Mountain. We forget about the Mountain people. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, go ahead, Josh. Anything
Some
more?
of these days have been kind of running together. Like I literally had somebody having me think tomorrow was Friday. It's been a lot. I just got back from Georgia speaking down there, so it's been it's been a lot. Some days I've had like 3 podcasts. It's been crazy. So Livewire, like, man, brother, like I feel for you because like I know you're in like limbo right now. You know what I'm saying? And I hate that for you. Because, I mean, there's probably nothing like worse than getting out of there and then realizing that you might have to deal with this BS some more, you know? And I know that, they did that extension on the pardon a few weeks ago. So I just don't even understand why they're fighting you on this. Like, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's the judges. It's not, it's not the, but then that falls on, Trump needs to get his people under control. All I'm telling him. I mean, I don't know, but he's dealing with rogue judges too. So that's what scares me about this. I'm a small fry. He can fight it. I'm a small fry. Do I just get buried and just a casualty?
And that's what people don't.
I
I mean,
don't
it's
know.
the same thing. It's the same thing as when we got charged. It's just like they have like a blank checkbook to fight us. And I mean that's what you're dealing with. So I mean, no matter what, if you win or not, like it's going to cost you money to beat them, and that's just ridiculous. Shouldn't even be a thing.
So a question here for LW is, when are you going to write a book, LW?
A lot of people ask me that. I don't know. Maybe I'll get around to it one of these days. I'm not sure. I'm not much of the kind to sit down and write. I guess that's my problem.
Yeah. Well, this comment just came in, and I completely agree with it. Is the J6 committee must be held accountable for all the injustices they perpetrated.
That's that and it kind of crossed my mind when you were just talking a second ago, but the thing that people need to remember when it comes to what happened with the J6ers is throw out the conversation of right or wrong. A lot of people want to get caught up in, violent, nonviolent, all that. Just take that out of the equation. Take out the equation whether anybody was even right or wrong. Take it out of the equation. The due process, the defamation in the public eye, the tainted jury pools. Let's just say it for what it is. And I'm even though I'm going through my situation, it's facts over feelings, but these judges that went, like a Reggie Walton that went on CNN and called us all terrorists, just the constitutional violations, sending SWAT teams after people accused of non-violent misdemeanors.
Right.
The largest investigation in the United States history. Thank God Trump won. It'd still be going. Yeah. Right? So that's the thing that people need to remember most about J6, in my opinion, because you're next. See? Right now it's just me. Right now, it was just us.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your door and you're wondering why there's nobody there to fight, just remember, But yeah, the lawfare, the full weight of the government, all that stuff. I think that gets lost in the conversation a lot, especially being 4+ years down the road. I think people have forgotten the mental state of the nation, of this time frame. of 2020 and January 6, 21, with everything that was going on with the riots, parents at school board meetings being labeled terrorists, the political violence in the streets against people.
Yeah.
You know, I think people they tend to forget that. So anytime you're talking about a lot of these hot topics, not just J6, just try to remember the state of the nation. Remember that the lawfare is what the problem is. See, that's why everybody got a pardon. That's why every last person got a pardon, because of the malfeasance of the judicial process. So that's what people need to remember. Don't get caught up in defending your actions or somebody else's actions, because this is an emotional, heated debate, depending on what side of the aisle you're in. I wouldn't wish this. I think we're getting carried away with this domestic terrorism term. These people firebombing these Teslas. I don't think it's now. I think they should go to prison, charge them with arson and everything else, right?
Yeah.
But I think we're getting carried away with this domestic terrorism terminology. But these labels. So as much as I want retribution, not revenge, people need accountability. But I think we're going down a slippery slope. It doesn't matter which side's doing it. So it's now. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers. Neither. It's a fine line. Like I said, it's just. I think we're going down a path as a nation that it's just not looking too good if we're going to continue doing these things to be. And if it just depends on who's in power, then we're not going to be able to fix anything. The problems will just continue.
Well, I think everybody should be outraged from what you just said about this being the nation's largest investigation, and what Josh said earlier about them having a blank checkbook. This blank checkbook and world's largest investigation comes out of everybody's wallets. They're just tapping right into that wallet, into the taxpayer dollar, and as our taxes increase, the waste monies are wasted in areas where they shouldn't even be committed to. This is just outrageous. I don't care what side of the aisle.
Part of what Dan was saying too. So when it comes down to the pardons and all that. So one of the things that was, talked about, well, what about the people that assaulted police officers? Well, the problem with that argument is the trumped up charges that they gave the people. So I knew of a guy that he got 10 years for assault on a police officer. Now, what happened was, he was holding a flagpole. The officer hit him in the face, and he pushed him back with the flagpole. Okay. He was actually NYPD for 25 years. So when he went to sentencing, they said, we're going to make an example out of you because you should have known better, and they gave him 10 years in prison. He obviously did not assault a police officer. So that's the kind of stuff that they were doing.
Right.
So majority of the charges were just complete BS.
Yeah. Wow. So a question that just popped up.
Right. And I wasn't accused. Right. And just real quick, I wasn't accused of a felony at all in my initial investigation. And then then they throw a 20-year felony on me. And then when that don't stick, they come back and throw more felonies. They were going to have their conviction. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
How do you wait 2 years after an investigation and add more charges?
Right. It's almost like double jeopardy. Goodness. So a question that came up is, when is the lawsuit coming against the federal government for the J6ers? So many violations.
It's going to, I'm not going to give away any details yet, but it's in the works. So any J6ers to hear this, if you haven't been, if you haven't contacted anybody yet, get a hold of one of the activists in the community. I mean, all the big name activists kind of talk and work together. But we have a couple different firms, that you can choose from. We're going to get paid.
Good. So we went a little over longer than what we normally do on this broadcast. So we need to wrap up. We're about 30 minutes over, but I'm glad Josh was able to make it. So I'm really glad to stay longer because, we wouldn't have had a complete show because we already made the announcement that Josh was going to be here, and here he is. So I'm glad. So, any final words, LW?
No, well, I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah, just everybody, try to find a way to be productive in your community. Try to find a way to make a difference in the world. Just be kind.
Josh,
that's all I got.
I mean, end of the day, we went through what we went through, so you guys don't have to. So just, I mean, that's the biggest thing. Other than that, I mean, hey, go help Dan out. He's got his legal stuff going on. Go to his Gibson Go. Give him 10, 20 bucks, whatever you can give him. Jump on Amazon, grab my book, Trumped Up.
very well said. Billy, Spitfire.
I just want to say thank you to the January 6th community for what you guys have gone through, what you're still going through. I appreciate you guys as American, and thank you for the sacrifices you guys have went through and put your families through. We appreciate it.
Is anyone ready to quit? Anyone ready to give up? Not me. Still pushing forward.
Not going to happen.
Anyways, folks, we've definitely went over time. We got to get some other things tended to for the evening. But LW, Josh, really appreciate you guys being on. To all the J6ers and the J6 community, thanks for kind of leading us the way in a very important lesson of our government, what's going on here in the United States. So until next time, folks, tune in next week, actually. What are we doing? 9 p.m. Eastern again? I believe so. So 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday on Tim Holiday TV on Facebook and or Rumble. I prefer Rumble because, Facebook could be a little sensitive, if you all know what I mean. Anyways, you all have yourselves a good night, and we will definitely catch up later.